My wife had an affair with our business partner, then secretly forged my signature to sell our family estate for $750, $0. Now she's claiming I'm unfit to share the inheritance and legal battles are tearing us apart. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get like this, but here I am, trying to piece together how everything fell apart so fast. It all started with a gut feeling, you know. Something just felt off with Lisa, my wife. She's always been a little bitchy, quick to lie, but lately she's been especially defensive, snapping at me over small things, avoiding conversations about our future, and acting secretive about her phone. At first, I brushed it off as stress from work or menopause, whatever excuse I could come up with. But then the signs started piling up, and I couldn't ignore them anymore. It was a Tuesday evening when I stumbled upon the truth. I'd been working late, as usual, and decided to check our bank accounts out of habit. I saw a sudden transfer of $750, $0, a huge chunk of money going out of our account. My stomach dropped. That's when I realized something was seriously wrong. I called the bank to get details, and they told me the money was sent to some anonymous account, supposedly linked to a property sale. But I didn't sell any property, especially not for that kind of money. My mind raced. I knew we had a family estate, a little plot of land that's been in my family for generations. No way I'd sell it without telling Lisa, and she'd have told me if she was planning something like that, right? The next day I started snooping around. I checked her phone, her emails, anything I could find. That's when I saw the text messages. They were from Mark, our business partner, and they weren't just polite work talk. No, they were flirtatious, dirty, and way too intimate for colleagues. I read about their secret meetings, their plans to meet up after hours, how they needed to keep this quiet because of the business, but also how they couldn't keep their hands off each other. My heart sank. I felt sick. I couldn't believe it. The woman I married, the woman I trusted with everything, was cheating on me with the guy I'd trusted to run our business. I confronted her that night. I told Lisa I knew about the affair, showed her the messages, the bank transfer, all of it. Her reaction was classic. She lied with a smile, her eyes darting around, trying to deny everything at first. "You're crazy," she snapped. "You're just jealous. Mark and I are just friends. You're so insecure." She kept insisting that I was imagining things, that I was paranoid, but I was. I'd seen enough. The evidence was undeniable. Still, she kept spinning her web of lies, claiming she was just trying to save the marriage, that I was overreacting, that she loved me but was just frustrated. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The woman I thought I knew was lying to my face, and I could see right through her bullshit. That night I stayed up, trying to process what I'd learned. I felt a mixture of rage, heartbreak, and confusion. How could she do this? Why? We had everything: money, a good life, a future, and she threw it all away for some affair with Mark, who, by the way, was always a little too friendly with her, but I never thought it was more than just business. Turns out I was wrong. The betrayal cut deep, deeper than I ever expected. I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd been blind or naive, but deep down, I knew I'd never see this coming. I'd trusted her completely. Now I was left with this hollow feeling, trying to figure out what to do next. The next few days were a blur, honestly. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that fake smile she put on when I confronted her, and I heard her lie about how innocent she was. I kept replaying the evidence over and over, trying to find some reason, some excuse that would make sense of it all. But there was nothing. Just cold, harsh reality. Lisa had been cheating on me with Mark, our own business partner, and she had been sneaking around behind my back for months. I decided I needed to get to the bottom of everything. I started digging into the bank records more thoroughly, looking into every transaction, every transfer. I found out that she had secretly forged my signature to sell the family estate, a property I thought was protected, something I'd always intended to leave to the kids someday. But somehow she managed to sign my name, sell it for $750, $0, and didn't tell me a thing. She claimed she did it because I was unfit to handle money, that I was too busy with work and couldn't manage our assets. That was a lie, of course. I was the one who handled the estate, the investments, everything. She just wanted the money to fund her affair. When I confronted her with this revelation, her reaction was staggering. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're just jealous because I found someone who makes me feel alive. You're too dull, too predictable. I don't need your approval." Her words cut through me like a knife. I felt a mix of anger and despair. How could she be so cold? She had lied about everything, about the affair, about the sale, about her feelings. I realized she had been manipulating me from the start, using her charm and lies to cover her tracks. That's when I knew I couldn't stay silent. I went to a lawyer, started talking about what to do legally. I wanted to expose her, get back what was stolen, and protect what was left of our family. I also started thinking about revenge, not in some reckless way, but in a calculated manner. She thought she could get away with everything, that I'd roll over and accept her betrayal. Not a chance. I decided I'd fight her on every level. The more I learned, the more furious I became. I found out she had been secretly meeting Mark at fancy hotels, even during business trips. She'd lie about working late, when in reality she was with him, having sex, doing whatever they wanted. And she had the nerve to accuse me of being unfaithful, claiming I was unsuitable to share the inheritance. That was her way of trying to turn the tables, to make me look like the bad guy. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I had enough evidence now to take her to court, to challenge her claim to the inheritance, to prove she'd forged my signature. Meanwhile, Lisa was still acting like she was the victim. She'd call me paranoid whenever I questioned her, claim I was overreacting. She even told our friends I'd gone crazy, that I was losing my mind because I couldn't handle losing money or control. It was infuriating. She was spinning this story that I was the villain while she was the innocent victim of my supposed paranoia. But I knew better. I knew what she was capable of, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it, not this time. Every day I felt more like a stranger in my own life. The trust was shattered and the betrayal was too deep. I started questioning everything, my judgment, my marriage, whether I even knew Lisa at all. The worst part was the sense of helplessness. I had all this evidence, but I also knew she'd fight me tooth and nail. She had money, influence, and a way of twisting everything to her advantage. Still, I was determined to fight. I wasn't going to let her take everything I built, everything I cared about, without a fight. And I knew I'd have to be smart, patient, and relentless if I wanted to come out of this with some shred of dignity intact. Over the next couple of weeks, things escalated fast. I hired a lawyer who specialized in financial crimes and family law. We started gathering all the evidence: bank records, emails, text messages, even witness statements from friends who saw her sneaking out late at night, meeting Mark at those fancy hotels. The more I uncovered, the more clear it became that Lisa had planned this entire betrayal for months. She'd been manipulating me, the estate, everything. I kept asking myself how I'd missed the signs, how I'd been so blind, but the truth was staring me in the face now, and I couldn't ignore it. One day, I decided to go through our house with a fine-tooth comb. I wanted to find anything that could help my case: hidden documents, receipts, anything that could prove her forgery and the sale of the estate. I found a suspicious-looking folder stuffed in her closet, filled with fake signatures, receipts, and a power of attorney she'd forged in my name. It was all right there. That was the smoking gun I needed. I knew I had to act fast before she could destroy or hide anything else. Meanwhile, Lisa was still pretending to be the innocent victim. She'd call me paranoid, accuse me of trying to control her, or say I was just jealous. She even had the nerve to say I was unfit to manage the inheritance, that I was mentally unstable because I'd uncovered her lies. She played the victim so convincingly that some of our friends started questioning me. That's when I realized her manipulation was working on some people, but not all. I had to stay strong and stick to the facts. The legal process was brutal. My lawyer filed a suit to contest the sale of the estate, claiming she forged my signature and committed fraud. We also filed to have the sale reversed and to recover the money. Lisa countered with her own claims, saying I was mentally unfit to handle any inheritance because I was paranoid and unstable. She even hired her own lawyers, who tried to argue that I was incapable of managing the estate, trying to turn the tables on me. It was all a game of manipulation and deceit. I knew I had to stay calm and focused if I wanted to win. During this chaos, I also started secretly recording her. Every time she made a snide comment, lied about her whereabouts, or attacked me, I'd record it. I wasn't planning to use it all immediately, but I knew these recordings could be crucial if things went to court. I felt like I was walking a tightrope, carefully gathering evidence, trying not to give her any reason to accuse me of harassment or manipulation. The stakes were high, and I knew I had to be smarter than her. The hardest part was the emotional toll. I'd wake up every morning feeling betrayed, angry, and helpless. I'd look at her, pretending to be the loving wife, and wonder how she could lie so effortlessly. I felt like I didn't know her at all. Every moment I spent with her was a reminder of how deeply I'd been fooled. I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd been blind to her true nature all along. It was a slow, painful realization that the woman I married was capable of lying, cheating, and stealing from her own family, including me. The trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. In the midst of all this, I also started thinking about what I wanted long-term. Was I going to fight for the marriage, or was this the end? Could I ever forgive her knowing what she'd done? Or was it better to cut my losses and walk away? Honestly, I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew I had to protect myself and my future. I couldn't let her destroy everything I'd worked for, especially not for some affair and a scam to steal our estate. I was preparing myself for a long battle, both legally and emotionally. I knew I had to be ready for whatever came next. The court dates started coming in faster than I expected. My lawyer kept telling me to prepare for a fight. Lisa and her lawyers were doing everything they could to smear me, claiming I was mentally unstable and unfit to manage the inheritance. They painted her as the victim, as someone betrayed by my supposed paranoia. Meanwhile, I had mountains of evidence proving she forged my signature, sold the estate without my consent, and was having an affair with Mark. Still, I knew how slick Lisa could be, and I had to stay one step ahead. One afternoon, I got a call from my lawyer. She said Lisa had secretly filed a claim to cut me out of the inheritance entirely, claiming I was unfit and mentally unstable, just like she'd been hinting all along. It was a direct attack, trying to turn the judge against me. But I had more evidence, records of her forgery, the bank transfer, the emails, the recordings of her lying. I was ready to fight fire with fire. I also started to realize how deep her lies went. She'd been manipulating everyone, our friends, family, even some of her own lawyers. She insisted she was innocent, that I was the one with issues. But I knew better. I had the proof that she forged my signature, that she sold our land, and that she was cheating on me with Mark. It was only a matter of time before the truth came out in court. I was determined to make sure it did. Meanwhile, Lisa's attitude was getting more aggressive. She started accusing me of being crazy and unstable in front of our friends, trying to sway their opinion against me. She'd say I was paranoid, that I'd lost my grip on reality because I couldn't handle losing the inheritance or her. It was infuriating. She was spinning this story that I was the villain, but I knew she was the one lying. I'd caught her in so many lies, and I had the evidence to back it up. Behind the scenes, I continued recording her whenever I could. Every snide remark, every lie, every attempt to manipulate the situation. I knew she was dangerous. She'd even started to threaten me, saying if I didn't back down, she'd make sure I lost everything. That's when I realized she was willing to go to any lengths to keep the money and her affair secret. I couldn't let her get away with it. I had to be smart, patient, and ready for whatever legal tricks she threw my way. The emotional toll was exhausting. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry all at once. I'd loved this woman, trusted her with everything, and now I was fighting just to keep what's rightfully mine. Every morning I woke up with a knot in my stomach, wondering if she'd try to turn the court against me, or if she'd succeed in stealing everything I'd worked so hard for. But I also started to feel a strange sense of clarity. I knew I couldn't fix this marriage, not with her lying and scheming like she was. I had to fight for my future, for the truth, and for what was legally mine. As the days went on, I realized I was in for a war, not just a legal battle but an emotional one too. I had to stay strong, keep my evidence organized, and prepare myself for the worst. I knew she was desperate, and desperate people do crazy things. But I wasn't going down without a fight. I'd come too far, gathered too much proof, and I wasn't going to let her rewrite history or walk all over me. This was about more than money now. It was about integrity, justice, and reclaiming what she tried to steal from me. The court hearings were a whirlwind. Lisa's lawyers pulled every stunt they could think of, questioning my mental state, trying to discredit my evidence, even claiming I was violent, which was an outright lie. But I had the recordings, the forged signatures, the bank statements, and a mountain of documentation proving her deception. Every time they threw a new lie, I had the facts to shut it down. Still, it was exhausting. I could see the desperation in her eyes, like she knew her house of cards was about to fall. One day during the hearing, Lisa sat there with that fake smile, pretending to be the innocent victim. She spun her stories about how I'd become paranoid and unstable, how I was trying to ruin her reputation. Her voice was so convincing that some of the judge's questions seemed to sway in her favor, at least temporarily. But I stayed calm, sticking to the facts, and presenting my evidence with confidence. I knew if I let her get under my skin, I'd lose control, and that was exactly what she wanted. Meanwhile, I noticed her phone was buzzing nonstop. I couldn't help myself. I checked her messages when she wasn't looking, and what I found was even more shocking. There were texts from Mark, confirming their plans to meet again, discussing the sale of the estate, and even talking about how to cover their tracks. It was all there. I took screenshots, saved everything. I knew this was the final nail in the coffin, and I was going to use it to show the court just how deep her lies went. As the days passed, I felt a strange mixture of hope and dread. Hope, because I believed I had enough evidence to win. Dread, because I knew Lisa wouldn't go down without a fight. She was already talking about appealing, trying to sway the judge with her sob stories. And her threats kept echoing in my mind. She said if she lost, she'd destroy me, ruin my reputation, and take everything I cared about. I had to stay vigilant, keep my recordings safe, and prepare for her next move. The emotional toll was relentless. I'd lie awake at night, replaying everything in my head, wondering if I'd missed some detail. I loved Lisa once, I really did, but now I saw her for what she truly was, a manipulative, dishonest woman capable of lying, cheating, and stealing everything from me. I felt betrayed and humiliated, but also strangely relieved. Finally, I was exposing her for what she was. I knew this legal battle was going to be long and exhausting, but I was determined to see it through. I needed to reclaim my dignity, my estate, and my life. I also started making plans for what came after. I thought about divorcing her, about rebuilding what I could from the ruins. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, not after everything I'd discovered. The woman I married was gone, replaced by someone hungry for money and betrayal. I had to focus on protecting myself and my children, making sure she couldn't hurt us anymore. This wasn't just about money. It was about integrity, respect, and moving forward without her lies shadowing everything. I was ready for the final showdown, and I knew I'd come out stronger on the other side. The final court date arrived faster than I expected, and I was ready. All the evidence I'd collected, her forged signatures, the emails, the recordings, the bank statements, was laid out clearly. Lisa's lawyers tried every trick in the book to discredit me, but it was no use. The judge saw through her manipulations, her lies, and her attempts to turn the tables. When the verdict finally came down, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. The court declared the sale of the estate invalid, confirmed that Lisa had forged my signature, and ordered her to return the $750, $0. That day, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. The betrayal had been so deep, the damage so extensive, that I knew my life would never be the same. Still, I was grateful to have fought for the truth and won. I'd uncovered her lies, exposed her cheating, and reclaimed what was rightfully mine. The emotional scars would take time to heal, but I knew I could move forward now, without her, without the lies, and with a renewed sense of self. In the aftermath, I filed for divorce. It was a difficult process, but I knew it was necessary. I didn't want to be married to someone capable of such deception. I also took steps to protect myself legally, changing locks, securing my accounts, and setting up new boundaries. I started therapy to deal with the emotional fallout, and slowly I began rebuilding my life. The betrayal had shaken me, but it also made me realize how important honesty and trust are. In any relationship, looking back, I learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust is fragile, and even the people you love can surprise you in the worst ways. Never ignore the small signs. Those gut feelings are there for a reason. Keep your eyes open, document everything, and don't be afraid to fight for what's yours. Most importantly, don't let someone's lies define you. I survived this mess, and I'm stronger for it. My advice to anyone going through something similar: stand your ground, gather your evidence, and never let anyone manipulate or steal from you. The truth might be painful, but it's the only thing that can set you free.